Welcome to AwesomeDOT, your dedicated guide to the Polkadot and Kusama ecosystem.
Oh, you're cutting. Oh, now I don't hear the sound anymore, so that sounds good. You should talk.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah. Much better. Okay.
Okay, awesome. All right. Sorry for the technical glitch,
All good.
but I hope you're ready. So, I just want to get the basics right. I hope your name is the pronunciation Thibaut, or how do I pronounce it?
Thibaut is
Thibaut.
how French would do, but honestly, I'm used to people savaging my name. Obviously, it's written weirdly.
Okay. I think your X username is also significant of the Thibaut itself, right? The username itself.
Yes.
Nice, interesting. Okay, so I'm going to start the podcast now and get you. I hope you're ready. Okay, awesome. So, all right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 9th episode of the AwesomeDOT Podcast. I'm Yogesh, and I'm your host today. I'm joined by Thibaut Sardan from the ChainSafe team. Thibaut has been a product manager in his past life before joining Parity, and has been working as a TypeScript engineer in the blockchain space since then, especially in the Polkadot ecosystem. Right. So, welcome to the show, Thibaut. Great to have you here.
Thanks. Welcome.
Awesome. Okay, awesome. So from what I can gather, you are the main developer behind Multix, and you've also worked on a lot of projects in the ecosystem, especially starting from Polka Assembly and then going on to Polkadot.js extension. So you've been involved in the Polkadot ecosystem quite deeply, right? So I'll get to all of that, but before I go there, I want to just start off by getting to know you a bit better and just understand like a bit of your background and why did you decide to get into crypto at all?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I can go deeper into some specific sections of my background, but you summarized it pretty well. At the end of the day, I was a product manager. I had an engineering background, so I knew a bit how to code, but didn't code every day. And at some point, I heard about Ethereum quite a while before joining Parity in 2017, but like many, I actually don't think I understood exactly what it is. And eventually I dug a bit deeper, I went to some meetups, we were coding some Solidity and deploy your first smart contract. And at some point I just wanted to, like many probably have done in the past, just jump all in and just, have my full-time job and not only spending my nights learning about Web3. So this is how I joined. I was in Berlin back then. So this is how I joined Parity. Parity back then was still doing only Ethereum stuff, like absolutely 100% of the company was doing, working on Ethereum, either the client or things related to it. The Parity Ethereum client, I mean the node implementation in Rust. And eventually, so at this time, the Polkadot paper was already out. And starting maybe a couple months, like 3 to 6 months after I joined, part of the company was starting to work on Polkadot. And eventually I worked on Polkadot as well. But yeah, the first things I did were related to Ethereum, and eventually I joined the team to build Parity Signer, and which now is called Polkadot Vault. And yeah, I worked a lot on everything related to Polkadot.js. So many people don't like it today, but the developer console, Polkadot.js apps, or the developer signer, how it's going to be called soon, which is Polkadot.js extension. And then I did some other things, related, such as Polka assembly and yeah, it's been quite fun. And in the past 3 years, then I joined ChainSafe, where I've done actually some less Polkadot related things. I've worked on things related to Filecoin, for instance. But what I really like to do is products that people can use, normal people can use. Maybe not my mom, but my neighbor or
technical
my
enough. Yeah.
exactly like I
Yeah.
mean someone who's just young and interested in something. And yeah, recently I worked on something called Multix, as you mentioned, which is basically an interface to make multisigs accessible so that it's simple to use, a bit more simple than it used to be at least. This was one of the first of the interfaces that allowed this. Now we have quite a lot of competitors, but Multix is still, I mean, competitors. When I say this, actually Multix is a completely common good product, right? I've received funding from the treasury, but it's made completely open source from the get-go and as trustless as it can be, or trust minimize, I call it. So, it's not real competition. The idea was to just solve a problem, which was multisigs or a pain. And I guess now, 2 years after I started Multix, I think multisigs are less of a pain, at least. So, I consider this is a mission accomplished.
Nice. No, I mean, great job on that, to be honest. Like a lot of people who are new to the ecosystem sort of start out with Multix now just to sort of get an understanding, which is obviously great. So very, very interesting. So you've kept your toes in like all of the entire blockchain ecosystem overall. So what like in early on, did you see differences in the way Ethereum was getting built versus how Polkadot was getting built from like a standpoint of an engineer?
Yeah, I mean, I was there when Ethereum had its first problems related to gas, right? With the CryptoKitties, and just a single game on a blockchain was making the entire experience of the entire ecosystem basically could not use the chain anymore. It was literally clogged for hours on end. You wanted to do something, which involves sending a transaction to the blockchain, and it just didn't work. So if you had any, like I know many apps back then, something called I think it was called Augur, which was a way to bet, on something. It's related to what Zeitgeist is doing right now, which is I missed the word right now, but basically betting on some stuff. It's some game, some other application. Basically, if you had an application that was on chain, you could just not use it because this CryptoKitty craze was just basically clogging the chain. And this was back then when Polkadot was only, not on paper. It was on code as well, but it wasn't really deployed or anything. And this was absolutely obvious to me that we needed some scalability for these blockchains, right? I mean, to be fair, this is not something that Ethereum discovered with CryptoKitties. It's always been clear that there would be a bottleneck. Now, the only thing is that the way Ethereum is built and the way the consensus among the developers of Ethereum is met makes it so that it's actually slow. And when you have projects or when you have Ethereum being launched in I think end of 2014, or I always say 2015 because 2015 saying, oh, we start with proof of work, but in 2 years we'll have proof of stake because it's just so much more efficient, etc. And green also so much better for the planet. And then you realize, okay, it took actually many more years to actually get to this, and everything is kind of slow and slower than Polkadot. I have to say that Polkadot has a huge advantage in the fact that it came way after, right? Like, you cannot pretend that Ethereum and Polkadot came at the same time and Polkadot just solves it much better, right? Ethereum had problems, and because we saw the problems, Polkadot basically was launched soon after to tackle these problems, just like all these layer or third generation blockchains. I would put Solana in there, or Cosmos, who basically came after seeing the problems and taking the good things, and or everything related to ZK, for instance, right? When we talk about all the layer 2s on Ethereum, etc., like the ZK has been in active research for many years, but it's been like, I think there's a word for this. It's called Cambrian explosion or something, which means like basically there's some research that goes on. The the subject or research, and it's getting better and better. But there's one point where absolutely everyone is researching, and the knowledge about this is just exploding. And this has happened for ZK, right? ZK has been invented probably 20 years ago. I'm talking about stuff I barely know, but and it's just like in the past 5 years, the thing has absolutely exploded just due to the amount of brain power that has been put into, because ZK had no real use case back then. And since blockchain is there, and in fact they can aggregate things into proof that is super small and verify it super simply, it makes it just super interesting. And again, these are things that did not exist or were not really possible 5 years ago, right? Like what you can do today with optimistic rollups, etc., or just ZK in general. So back then, Polkadot was forward thinking, and definitely had an idea about how to scale better, basically Ethereum. Now Ethereum has achieved stuff that are also pretty impressive, in the sense that it just has a lot of people, a lot of builders, a lot of users as well. So it's of course not as efficient as Polkadot, but it has other advantages, I would say.
Nice. Okay. Interesting. So I think looking at all of the things that have happened in the ecosystem gave like Polkadot essentially a leg up in that sense. But do you think we overfitted in that sense, that we went like with pallets and with everything, like we just went in stack after stack and did not give enough time for the ecosystem to grow? Like, do you think about that?
Yeah, it's so at the end of the day, when you're having a vision and trying to think 5 years ahead, and think, okay, what will we need tomorrow? What will people do with the blockchain tomorrow? And if you have a grand vision and try to guess the needs, basically, then all you can do is bet, right? You can just say, okay, we're gonna go for this, and I hope that this will work.
Right.
And the idea when Polkadot was launched back then was, okay, we're going for app chains, as in people need more optimization. They need to be able to do more things than what a smart contract allows them to do. And I mean, this was already visible long ago, when you are a cryptographer, or you want to use some crypto primitives, or do just ZK proofs, for instance, or ZK verifications, and you want to do this with a smart contract. And well, back then, the smart contract set of rules, I would call them, is set. You cannot change them, and you have to just play with whatever you've been given, right? Like it's a set of Lego blocks, right? And if you start to build something crazy with these Lego blocks, say you want to not just play with do a little thing, but you want to do something giant, then it's going to be super costly, because it's not made for this. You cannot build a house with a Lego. Well, you can, but good luck, it's going to cost a lot. Maybe you should use concrete and stuff that are made for it. So the idea was back then, okay, people may just use smart contract, fine, but we may want to actually give them the tools to build their own blockchain, right? And we will give them the tool to not only build their own blockchain, but also secure it, and and eventually communicate between them, like in a trustless manner, etc., etc. So this was the whole bet, so to say, of Polkadot, saying, okay, people will need to have a whole SDK to build their blockchain, and we're going to make things super simple, so that they don't have to care much about the consensus, they don't have to care much about the security, etc., etc. Now the truth is, this is not simple. Even if you have the right tools, this has a high cost, right? Like in terms of knowledge, you need the right developers, they need to know Rust, and to build something quick and show it to, say, VCs, etc., like I would say Substrate, or now called Polkadot SDK, is probably not the easiest, in the sense that you have a high barrier to entry, right? And unless you've done this before, or you're extremely knowledgeable in this field, then maybe it's going to be hard. So at the end of the day, this is something we realize a bit later, as in, okay, it looks like it's actually not it is a need, but there were so many, people just copy pasting code and doing, the OP stack or whatever and launching some L2s and, the stuff that is completely centralized with a multisig that, post the proofs basically on the L1 and no fraud proof. Like, I mean, I was absolutely amazed yesterday looking at L2 bits I hadn't looked at it for many, maybe years even, I was like, okay, let's see how L2 bits looks like, right? I want to see all the L2s basically. And the amount of L2s that is out there is absolutely incredible for one, but the amount of L2s completely centralized is absolutely mind blowing. It's like people basically, or copy pasting code, as I said, but like not caring at all about the decentralization. Whereas the whole idea about Polkadot is to actually keep things super decentralized and super secure. Like the relay chain is securing everything, the validators are securing, the ELFs protocol is securing this with billions at stake. And yeah, we figured that maybe today we're pivoting a bit, or we're changing direction, as in we want to allow people to maybe bootstrap something a bit in an easier manner. I remember back then, long ago, when we were talking about building some Web3 applications, we were saying, okay, but you have to learn Solidity, which is a barrier to entry. Now, no one talks about Solidity being a barrier to entry. It's the opposite. It's, hey, if you don't support EVM, like you're not gonna get users basically, because everyone knows Solidity and can compile stuff to EVM. So it's been shifting a bit, and So back to your question. At the end of the day, what was the bet maybe 6 years ago has evolved a bit with, as usual, the ecosystem. And the good thing is Polkadot is super flexible, right, and can evolve super quickly. And you can add EVM, and you can add smart contract capabilities on some chains or system chains, such as the asset hub and what we call Plaza, right? So this is coming, and thankfully it won't take many years, because we have on-chain governance, and and this is kind of daunting, but makes things go pretty quickly in some sense. So that's hopefully we see this, and then we get a bit closer to a chain that has it all, as in you can do smart contracts, you can actually bootstrap something really quickly without having to be on parachain, because for some reason this is an issue. But you can also build your own chain if you want, and if you want something super optimized for a very specific use case.
No, this has been a brilliant explanation, to be honest, because I never looked at block space in that sense as a function of money, right? Because for people, it's easy to use because there is no cost attached to it, and hence there will be a lot of fraudulent activities that would happen. But renting a chain, or essentially blocking using block space to make sure that you have X amount and you have to pay some amount to the treasury for owning it, is essentially a way to escape or go away from all of that, which is a very novel strategy, I would say. But it does like hinder the newbie adoption that other blockchains tend to see, right? In that sense. So, for example, that's one of the reasons why a lot of people tend to call out Polkadot for not having too many, front-facing, consumer-specific use cases, is because other chains have such less barrier to entry for anything that they want to do on the chain itself using the chain's currency. Is that at the end of the day, you have no option left but to try the one that's the closest to you and that's the easiest. Right? So, do you think there will come a time where Polkadot can also sort of provide this, but with the same level of security? Do you think Passio and Tansy and the work that's going on in the ecosystem around app chains itself have any chance in that manner?
Yeah, only time would tell. We obviously we couldn't predict the future. We couldn't know that absolutely everyone would be going toward EVM and not care much about security, for instance. I think this L2 craze is completely crazy, is senseless, and we will see a time where I think I wouldn't compare this to an ICO, but if today you want to launch something and make some money and launch some application on some blockchain, you may actually go for an L2 or even an L3, if that makes sense, because this is the way you would get some VC money. And it's actually super sad because maybe what you want to launch could completely fit, as a smart contract on some, it could be Moonbeam, could be some L2s, whatever, right? Some EVM things. And but just because you can go for the craze and get this VC money, then you would go for an L2, which is kind of sad. But I guess the market eventually, it will take some years, I guess, but will just come to a reason, and as usual, things will disappear, and maybe the craze will go somewhere else. So it's hard to tell. Like, I don't want to do prediction and tell you, okay, Polkadot will have its fame as well, and I think what's important is to know like what we did not so well and what we did well, and to just work very hard on what we did not so well. So things that we didn't do so well is being open and have a low barrier to entry for developers. We always thought, okay, you want to build a smart contract, we have smart contract chains, just go on Moonbeam, etc. But this has some other barriers. The fact that, it's at the end of the day, it's just like an L2, right? Like, you could just think of it as I don't know, some optimism, and you need, you need the token from optimism, and you cannot tap into, with optimism, you cannot, you need to use centralized bridges, etc., to go elsewhere, etc. But fact is, we came later, right? DeFi summer happened on Ethereum before, etc., etc. While we were thinking, okay, we want to build app chains, so really, really optimized chains for certain things. And we just see that today maybe the killer app. If people ask me, I generally say it's about stablecoin and about enabling some economies in the world where people have hyperinflation in their currencies, and maybe use some trustless currencies and stablecoin to have some kind of finance that doesn't plummet every day. And this is obviously not something we could know before. I would say the good thing is we work hard on it, and we go toward things like Plaza or Jam, which is saying, okay, look, you just throw anything at this Jam VM, right? Being EVM or PVM, you could write in any language, but Solidity is included. And then this thing is extremely cheap, extremely decentralized, extremely secure. We have trustless bridges, which took a while to come, but now they are there. Then there are things that we have a hard time doing today, which is everything related to XCM, right? This interchain communication it's there, but it's not super flawless. As a developer, it's actually quite hard to use. But this is something that we're improving on, and eventually maybe will come the time when people realize, okay, Polkadot actually has what I need, and I will just use it, because at the end of the day, Polkadot is the motor, right? And people build the car around it. If the motor is great, but the car sucks, no one wants to use it. But if the motor is great, or if the car is great, but the motor sucks, some people may use it still. It's like, and maybe people will think, okay, this is cheap, this is good, this is secure, this allows me to talk trustlessly to other chains. Maybe they will use it.
Hopefully, fingers crossed in that sense. We actually had the Parastel team, the Parastel team here on the podcast itself. And
yes,
we did talk a bit around the complexities that go into XCM and handling it. And there has been a lot of effort overall from the ecosystem to make things a little bit easier. And our goal is to essentially bring those projects up. So we had someone from the DeDot team, Thang from the DeDot team, who's working on a new kind of client implementation in TypeScript for Polkadot.js, and done completely in TypeScript. So people are trying to build on top of it. It's just that I think and async, packing, and Jam are also coming about. So I feel there is some DeFi summer that's probably waiting for Polkadot at some point for us to just build around and sit around and build. And coming back to your point about pouring money into more money into the whole L2 craze and VCs not caring about security. I mean, the big names are also like for example, Coinbase in itself, right? So they put in a lot of money in Base. They want to make that as sort of the default L2 chain for everything in that sense, or L3 if you think about it. But why is that? Like, do you have any theories on why do you think that's happening? Is it just because the momentum is there, or is it good enough now that things would work at least?
I would say that L2s have a really good. L2s that are secure. You already remove 95% of them. Have a good thing, which is okay. They try to scale with very different types of scaling solutions, right? I think this is really cool. If they are secure, then it's really cool. The problem is they still have the problem of talking to each other in a trustless manner. This is something that isn't solved today in Web3 on Ethereum at least, and I mean they can, but it's not easy. There aren't so many bridges out there that are permissionless, and this is something actually that Hyperbridge is trying or will solve, right? Ethereum communication, so to say, right? Using Polkadot to validate things.
Processor.
Exactly. So it's not all perfect. And to be very honest, when I heard for the first time not too long ago that Base had some L3, I was thinking, wait, isn't Base supposed to already scale enough? Like Base is not actually scalable enough that it needs another layer, or why is that, right? So maybe people will tell you, look, I have no idea what I'm talking about, but maybe I was imagining maybe the reason was that they needed some specific optimization, this layer 3 that Base didn't have, etc., etc. Then we're going back to the app chain idea. I'm not sure. It's Also, to be fair, I'm not extremely knowledgeable about all the Ethereum stuff, right? I look at it from afar, but I'm not deeply into it. The one thing that I'm extremely interested in is everything related to account abstraction and how much brain work is also used here to try to make things simple for first users. Not talking about mnemonic, using passkeys. Letting the ability for allowing people to actually lose their not their funds but their key and retrieve their funds still because they have friends that will vouch for them or something like this. This is, I think, extremely important. Something we are a bit behind, I would say, as well in Polkadot, unfortunately. But yeah, when you mentioned before you had some people like Paraspell on the show, etc. These people, they build libraries, right? They don't build actual products for end users, right? So this is where we are right now a lot. We are talking about libraries and tools for developers to build their things and abstract things away so that we can actually enable developers to build products. Products is what we lack, I would say. But again, there are many people working on, and you have like, I don't know, Hydra, for instance, Hydration, the parachain that has actually a great product. I don't know if you've ever used the DEX, etc. This is just working well, And so if you have the right backend, your own, your own blockchain, and then the front end that goes in front. Like if this is all nicely tied in made by a team, it actually can work super well.
No, agreed. Definitely. I think uh, newbie tooling is also a little something that causes Polkadot overall to lack in that sense. Because if you look at the ecosystem overall, in terms of account abstraction itself, right? There are tools like Web3 Modal and WAGMI that abstract out a lot of the complexities that go into managing everything and lets user handle it through like a single line of code in your React library, or like just two lines of code to do everything around. So I mean, I feel I'm doing JavaScript and TypeScript for a while too, and I've been trying to sort of learn on the side and make sure that I understand the ecosystem. But the point is that uh, it it's much easier to just pick the thing that's quite easy to get started with, right? It's human nature in that sense. And also, what use case does Polkadot solve apart from being or allowing me to become an app chain, right? What other, like, that's another big problem that I feel we don't communicate right? So if you look at it, a lot of the people on the DeFi work that they're doing, they don't have to go run an entire chain to do, or they don't come with that intention, right? Once they figure out that there is some work that needs to go and we need a full-fledged chain, that's when they do an L3 on top of it. But people don't get the time to validate their ideas, or don't get the opportunity there for them to just set. So I think, do you think we should start looking into this direction also, where we just focus on like things in DeFi that Polkadot can do? That's not building a chain itself.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. When you say today, okay, people could hear Polkadot does not have smart contract, etc. When you think about it, it's true in a sense that everyone talks about Polkadot relay chain, for instance, and it's true that it doesn't have smart contract. Now, the Plaza idea to have smart contracts on the asset hub is allowing probably exactly what you're talking about. It's allowing basically DeFi on a system chain, and what Polkadot is at its core is actually, it's just a big motor that you can send your transaction. It's the first product of Polkadot, we often say, is selling core, right? It's like super cheap,
True.
super secure cores. Now no one buy cores or very few people buy cores, right? So maybe what we want to change is to say, look, we're not selling block space anymore. We're not selling cores. We're selling, like computation. Basically, you can just give us your program, your DeFi, your whatever, and we just let it run on super securely on Polkadot. And this will change. Now, there's a little issue, I would say, which is, how do you tell this to the parachain that have been building for years, such as Hydration guys, who do an amazing job, but now they're like, hey, you know what? We're going to launch some super optimized EVM on Asset Hub, and the people doing DeFi will maybe just come and launch their thing and be direct competitors. So it's not easy. I think they can do a lot of things much better than smart contracts, for instance. But you are stepping on how do you say, on eggs? I don't know if we can say this,
Yeah.
but anyway, you have to go slow and say, okay, do we really want to do this? To be fair, this idea is absolutely not new, to have smart contract ability on a system chain or even on the relay chain. This is something that has been thought many years ago, but has not been done, because what is Moonbeam going to say when we have the EVM, on the Asset Hub? Again, I think the job done by Moonbeam is absolutely amazing. The fact that it completely seamlessly integrates with everything, every tool that Ethereum has, etc. This is not trivial. Ideally, the Moonbeam team could, okay, I'm completely going crazy here, but Moonbeam team could take care of this, EVM palette or this, EVM
Yeah, they
ability.
already have it. Yeah, true.
Exactly. Let's take it and just because there's obviously some marketing issue as well. The fact that what I started by actually saying, okay, we don't have really EVM on Polkadot, it's true, but it's not true at all, right? There are so many chains out there. Hydration is one of them. Moonbeam, obviously, we had Astar still not too long ago, naming names such as Akala. They have EVM as well. You can build DeFi on Akala. You know what? No one does it, but maybe it's also, a communication issue and yeah.
Yeah, I think this brings me to my next question, and a question that I generally ask everyone is about dog fooding your ecosystem, right? We as an ecosystem don't do it at all, as far as I see. I mean, for example, there are things that one chain solves, one parachain would solve. There are things that the other parachain would solve, but the both of these parachains would not know what things that are you trying to solve and what. And at the end of the day, it comes down to the decision that nobody is these are parachains, but they are not in sync or connected, where they can share the load from a DeFi perspective as well, right? And I feel do you think there should be some educational sort of activity done for the parachain itself, maybe by making sure that you understand what the ecosystem already has to offer before you jump onto something like that? Because if we keep doing that, there is no real innovation happening then, right? We will not come to the hard problems that we should have come to by now, in that sense.
I don't know if that's easy, because I would say this is a bit of human nature. This is a bit of greed as well. You could say, why is everyone launching an L2? Why is Arbitrum, Base, and blah blah launching an A2 when they already had, like others? Like, why?
Yeah.
Obviously, because you always think you do it better. Maybe because you will get more money out of this if you do it yourself. Because you don't know the people, or because for small details you think you again want to do it differently. Yeah, this you cannot definitely. I don't want to even attempt to say why and to find a solution. I would push back on the fact that we would say, okay, we don't actually do this. There is one simple example that makes me think about that, which is the fact that you can today request some OpenGov funds using USDT and USDC. And the reason this is possible is because there is actually an exchange made on hydration, right? The treasury is actually selling DOT to USDT super regularly using a functionality that they have, the DCA, and every block or every couple blocks, they sell DOT for USDT, and over a period of time, they have an average price that is much better than the peaks and the lows. And this is done today. Now, I agree it's not like super shared, but are you thinking about something that, I don't know, like, are you thinking about something in particular, saying, okay, there's this DeFi thing on Moonbeam, for instance, that is completely replicated on
No, I mean, in
some
that
other chain?
sense, for example, maybe you want to do an NFT, right? Like you want to do something around NFTs. You have the option to go to Unique Network, or you have the option to go to uh, uh, maybe Polkadot and see like whatever works. You have option for doing that on Asset Hub too, right?
Yeah.
What do I choose? Like if I have to do it, like how do I make that decision? Okay, this is the, like, I understand Polkadot is great, it solves a lot of problems, but I am not able to give it a problem for it to solve, right? I am sort of stuck in the decision making phase, and that's where I feel the whole sort of making people understand what everything. I mean, it can be a single entity, or an entity separate from all of the chains itself, but something that lets people know that these are your options. If you want to build a new one, you'll have to go through all of this. There are pros and cons. Look at this. Pick something, right? And that, I feel that the idea of not, because for example, there I have not seen really great anything around Polkadot that helps you build things quickly for mobile, right? Like for iOS or Android, right? You have some support, but building on top, and a lot of the ecosystem in Ethereum and everywhere else has moved on to like mobile-based systems where DeFi apps essentially utilize Coinbase interactions and WalletConnect and all of that. So all of that has moved to a place, and now passkeys are coming in. So things are happening, things are moving. People have the option. Okay, this is what I want to go with. It just, there is a lot of confusion in understanding where we are at, what are my options, and how do I go forward if I have a particular idea for a project. And that's where I was coming from in that time.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, things are a bit fragmented in each parachain. This is still the case on other ecosystems. I mean, fragmented ecosystems such as, Ethereum. Obviously, if you're talking about Solana, which is a big monolith, then there's one place. It's not one place to go, right? You still need to find information because those end up being some smart contract somewhere. The thing that maybe was a bit harder to do with Polkadot is that each chain was so sovereign in some sense that they had their own marketing, and it's a bit
governance, everything.
Yeah, and these are stuff that changed over time, but that's why Substrate is now renamed Polkadot SDK, so that people actually know what Substrate is, right? It's actually completely linked to Polkadot, and people maybe didn't know this before. But anyway, this is something that wants to be enhanced and fixed maybe with Jam, where at the end of the day, everything is a system on the Polkadot chain. Where there's no relay chain, there's no parachain. Everything is some work item basically eaten by this machine, and then you are a function of this Polkadot thing, and you cannot really avoid it. As in today or yesterday, I should say, you could build Substrate and you own your own app chain. You didn't even have to connect to Polkadot, right? You could have your own validators and be a solo chain, etc. This was the idea, right? This was a bet. I think Gav put it this way. It's like a bet against blockchain maximalism, right? It's like allowing everyone to build their own blockchain. And at the end of the day, we realized, okay, maybe we found a better solution now, and maybe it wasn't the best solution in the past to have things fragmented, including the naming, the marketing, etc., which makes it a bit more difficult to find. But at the end of the day, when you say, okay, I want to do an NFT on Polkadot, like, if you say I want to do an NFT on an L2, well, good luck. I don't even know where to start. Or on Ethereum,
I think everything has their own sort of challenges. But if we are sort of hoping for better, better developer experience, I think making them do less research is probably one of the first things that I'll try to look at. But a lot of talk around all of this. Let's just go on to more Polkadot things in that sense, and talk about. You worked with Polkadot Signer. It's now been renamed to Polkadot itself, Polkadot Vault, as far as I remember. And so, how was working with that, right? Because that was something that you were doing quite novel. This has been not done before. How was that experience?
Yeah, I mean, Polkadot Vault or Parity Signer, for those who don't know, is this application that runs on a phone that is supposed to be a spare phone. Like we, by now, maybe all have some older phone in a drawer, plenty of dust, and this is useless, but we could actually use this phone as an offline signer or as an I don't want to call it a hardware wallet, but it's actually very close to a hardware wallet, as in it would be a phone that runs an application that is completely offline, that the phone has to be reset first, right? You should never connect it to, the internet. And ideally,
Completely
I
air
mean,
gap.
exactly,
Air
air
gap.
gapped,
Yeah.
and you install an application ideally with some maybe SD card or whatever that you put the application on, and then this app works in the sense that you create your account offline on this app, right, on this offline phone, and then when you want to interact with the blockchain, you are, for instance, on your laptop, and you want to first connect it, for instance, you can connect it to Talisman, right? You show, what you do is you show some QR code to your camera, and the Talisman can read this QR code and say, okay, you are the owner of this address. And next, when you want to send a transaction, Talisman will show you a QR code on your laptop screen that you will catch with your camera of your offline phone, right? And then the offline phone will know about the transaction, will be able to sign it completely offline and show a new QR code that you will show to your laptop webcam, so that Talisman can know about this signed transaction. And the beauty of this is obviously that your private key has never left an offline phone, and it gives a sense of security to people, even knowing much about security, in the sense that the phone is offline all the time, right? There's no USB cable, there's no Bluetooth communication, so you know as a non-technical person that there's no more than whatever the QR code has that can be transmitted to the external world. So as long as this app that you have on your phone is actually the right one, and it's not sending your private key in a QR code, which you could do obviously, but as long as the app is legit, then you're good basically. And obviously you can have some other attacks that you can think of, which are local based attacks when people have physical access to the phone, obviously, but this is there are other security aspects that come into play here. The fact that obviously you can use authentication with a PIN or your fingerprints, or probably even your face on some newer phones. The fact that not anyone in your place, in your house, can just use the thing. But at the end of the day, it's just a very, very old idea that is, I think, brilliant. Underused maybe. Unfortunately, it hasn't been really widely used. I mean, Parity Signer or Polkadot Vault itself isn't really widely used, but it's also very rare to see such things in other ecosystem. I know there's a hardware wallet company called Keystone that does it, and that works exactly this way, right? It's showing QR codes, and this is really cool. But
there was
all
an
the
attempt to make the Polkadot signer an actual device, right? I think somebody was building an actual device.
Yes, it's
for
Campella.
that.
Yeah.
Campella. Yes,
It's
yes,
Campella.
yes,
I
yes.
haven't checked regarding the state of this, but I mean, it's been working for sure. They had a device in developer version that was, this was, so it was a bit different, as in there wasn't a camera on the device, so you didn't scan a QR code. You were actually sending things to using NFC. So NFC was just unidirectional communication. So it was just receiving things, and everything you would show or sending from the device would be a QR code. So it just had an NFC antenna, so to say. And yeah, this is, I mean, the original developers of this were people who worked on Parity Signer before, right? So these are very, very much linked, and they helped these people make the experience, for instance, on Ledger much, much better now. The fact that, we have this standard app, this one app to use on any parachain. This has been possible thanks to innovation brought by these people. Basically, it's the Zondax team, the people from Ledger, and it's also the Campella team. Who worked on this hardware wallet.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I mean, great work there. So what I want to dive into your current day-to-day scenario, right? what are you currently working on at ChainSafe? I just wanted to dive a bit into that.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing a bunch of things. I don't work 100% only on Polkadot. I do work also a bit on Ethereum now.
Nice.
I do a bunch of contributions out there. Like I've been contributing to Nova Spectre, which is a desktop-based wallet. I'm still maintaining Multix because well, it's very much used, and I have just maintained it in the past 6 months, but I still see a lot of users and many people requesting some new features. And you have to keep up because Polkadot is evolving so quickly. You have to keep up with what's going on. Yeah, there's this. Then I'm working on some other things. I had a cool hackathon project recently in the summer. And I can talk about it because I mean it's going to be out like in a couple of days. It's quite simple, but we have a problem in Polkadot governance, which is basically the amount of people voting. There's very few turnout, right? Like there's 2% turnout. Like 2% of the people are actually saying what they want, right? So the problem is you cannot have good decisions, or you cannot have really decentralized decision if just a very small fraction of the people actually vote, right? And it also means that a couple people just can, if they have bags that are big enough, so to say, can just swing a proposal. And yeah, there's a lot of problems also, like I wouldn't say bribing, but there are personal problems, as in if you have big bags, you obviously will be just bombarded by DMs, etc., which is also a problem. It's basically centralization, unless you have many people who vote. And one of the solutions to this is delegation, right? You can have, if you don't feel like looking at every referendum every day, which is absolutely daunting, and I mean, if you do this, good luck. Probably we talk again in a month and see how you're going. But yeah, delegation is one of the things that you can do. The problem is it's actually not that simple to delegate. And today there's a lot of ifs basically when you delegate. If you have voted on some referendum before, if you have delegated before, etc., etc. And I have been a witness of this annoyance myself when I wanted to just undelegate and unlock my votes or whatever on Kusama, and look, there was absolutely no app out there or no application on desktop out there that could do this, and the only app that was doing it well was Nova, right?
Yeah.
And this is still the case today. Actually, I think Polkassembly and Substrate have some somewhat okay-ish UIs, but again, there are so many ifs. If you have voted once, etc., etc., then the transaction may just break because you have to undelegate before and vote, etc., etc. And we built an application to solve this. One-click delegate application. So I like things, who do one thing and do it well, just like Multix. It's not trying to do everything. It's just trying to solve one problem, but just do it well. And this application is called Delegate. As in delegate it together, and it's literally a one-click to delegate. And whatever is the state of your current account, if you're delegating, if you've been voting, if you have unlocked votes or not, whatever is the state of your account, you will have at the end a transaction that may be big, actually may be split into two depending on how big it is, but and you will end up delegating on what you want, which is that was the idea, and we just built this for a hackathon, and we're going to just bring it out because, I think it can be useful for people.
Definitely needed as much as we can get, right? But great project. I think definitely leaves something that can help people, ease off the tasks while also being involved in some sense of the manner. And DAOs essentially thrive on that essential idea itself, right? And OpenGov, at the end of the day, comes down to a huge DAO itself. But nice. I mean, that's great. I hope I get a chance to try it out. Would love to check it out.
Yeah, I mean, if you follow me on Twitter, you will see a link popping up in a couple days maximum. It's out there, to be honest. It's kind of, we're just trying to make things a bit nicer, etc., etc. But it's already usable.
Nice, very good. No, good. This is good. So you're doing this hackathon project, and then you're doing some other stuff on Multix. What's the state of the Polkadot JS library? Like, how do you think of it evolving? And do you see a future for Papi or any of the other chains to come in or other libraries to come in?
Yeah, I've been using Papi a lot recently, and I'm actually migrating Multix to use Papi, and I'm extremely excited by Papi. I'm
Nice.
probably the best, cheerleader if you ask right now about Papi. This is just such a great developer experience. Like, I mean, I've been using Polkadot.js API for, 5 years, 6 years. It was just, it's just an older API as usual. Like we were talking about Polkadot coming after Ethereum and seeing what Ethereum didn't do so well and trying to make it better. This is the same in software today. When you build a software 6 years ago or a library to talk, to the blockchain as from a front end, you build Polkadot.js API. Okay, it talks to the relay chain, nice. And then after a couple of years, they start to have parachains. So, well, you kind of, have to adapt and talk to several chains at the same time. And then comes XCM, etc., etc. So you're just piling up on depth, right? And you have something that is just a big boat that has a lot more to deal with, and you're still trying to make your boat go forward. And then you have things like Papi, who basically completely rethought the thing from a different perspective and from a newer perspective, because again, Papi comes like 6 years after, right? So 6 years ago, Papi wouldn't be able to handle a chain how it was right now. All the things that evolved made it so that Polkadot.js API had to work with it. Papi doesn't have to care about what happened, the weird stuff that the relay chain was doing 1 or 2 years ago. All it cares is about the current state. And now Papi is just, it's just great to use. It's simple. As a TypeScript developer, you see all the types, all the, it's decoded for you. You can see all the palettes, etc. I basically end up not leaving my IDE, right, the coding environment to craft a transaction, because you have everything you need. You just do API.tx and then you see all the palettes, exactly, and then you see, okay, you need this key, and this key is what? Okay, it's my account and maybe some other index, and you see the description. And it works, it works well for light clients as well. It's pretty quick, I have to say. Like, actually, I feel a difference in terms of, performance, because it's built yet again on something new that Polkadot.js doesn't do, which is the new RPC API. So the way you talk to nodes, basically.
Yeah.
It's a different set of methods, and it's probably has been optimized with time, etc. So, Papi is good. Use it. I would say.
Definitely.
And it's getting better every day. Obviously, migrating Multix is kind of a big task, as in, I had to request to the team many things. Like, there's probably not a day in the past week where I didn't open an issue on the Papi repo just because, I don't know how to do this, or I couldn't find a way, and maybe because there's no way yet, but these guys are just, answering all the time, super quickly, super helpful, fixing your problems or your feature request. At least, it just feels good as a developer that when you have a problem or when you have a question, there's someone on the other side of the line. And the developer experience is just stellar, and I'm really looking forward to what people will be able to build. And when you were talking about Ethereum before, and WAGMI and all these libraries that are built on top of, Ethers or lower level libraries, there's actually something that is being built today, which is called Reactive Dot or ReDot by someone called Tien. And this is exactly WAGMI for Polkadot, like abstracting a lot of things. This is also something I'm very excited about, because I think it will lower the barrier to entries for front-end developers, like, massively.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, in that sense, I feel you are a TypeScript developer. JavaScript is everywhere in that sense, right? So anything and everything that you can do in any other language, you can do in JavaScript. And at the end of the day, the more we can get people to sort of start building smaller things on top of it, and just trying out newer things that have come up, not take Polkadot from that perspective what it was like a couple of years ago, and just look at the new tooling that has happened. I feel they'll be surprised to see how much we have grown in that sense from what we were compared to where we are right now. Like Chopsticks and Parastel and everyone is doing this great amount of work. And me and you will be sitting on the side cheerleading, helping teams build great libraries so we can build great products, right? But this has been a very, very interesting and very, very knowledgeable episode, to be honest, Thibaut. Like, I hope our listeners got a lot to learn and understand, like right from where Polkadot started. And I hope people who enjoyed this episode can share this, subscribe to the channel, and give us a thumbs up. And until next time, this is Yogesh signing off. Hope to catch you in the next one.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of AwesomeDOT. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this episode in the comments section or at website. The content presented on AwesomeDOT is not financial or investment advice and should not be viewed as a recommendation to support any specific project. The views expressed are the personal opinions of the podcast guest and moderator and may not necessarily be shared by AwesomeDOT. We do not endorse or guarantee the accuracy of the information provided. Want to join us as a speaker? Visit our website at awesome-dot.com to learn more. Remember to star the GitHub repo, awesome-dot. Also, you can always find us on Spotify for more great content. Have a great day. See you in the next one. Thank you.